Congratulations, class of 2017. Thanks, Vice Chancellor, for asking me to come here. I'm also very unfamiliar with convocation addresses, but I'm really happy to be here. And happier still when I saw all your faces, because I can see the spirit, I can see the courage, and I can see the sheer desperation to get out and do something. So that is wonderful, and I'm really happy to be here. So I believe, and I'm also very happy to be here, and honored, in fact, to be here, because this is a university with a difference. It's a university to give you the skills to operate. Indeed, I believe, thrive in a world of today, in our world. Today, there are no straight lines. There are no starting points. Nobody can tell you this is the ending point. It is a world where everything looks difficult, contested, in fact impossible. But it is also a world where everything is possible. But it requires a new kind of skills to be able to navigate this change. And I think this is really why a university like Ashoka is so imperative for this world. Why do I say that? One, very clearly, challenges are growing. There is a crisis of what I call the economy and ecology, which is turning all that we thought we knew on its head. We literally don't know what is right, what is the way ahead. In 1992, when the last cycle of change began, the world had sealed two deals. One for economic integration at a scale which was unknown, at least in the last few decades. We've had the history of colonization before, but this economic globalization came with the promise of integrating the world, bringing prosperity to all. It was economic globalization where new wealth would be shared amongst all. At the same time, we had, in 1992, ironically, we had also the world stitched together agreements of what I call ecological globalization. Agreements of everything from climate change to biodiversity. And these were agreements where the world leaders said that even as economic growth would take the pain of growth, would lead to pain of growth, the ecological globalization would keep the world safe. So prosperity and security was the promise. And yet today, the world accepts that all this is challenged. On the one hand, protectionism in the rich world is growing. The revenge of the rich is apparent in the electoral decisions of the recent months in Britain or in the US. Insecurity is growing. It's literally making the world an unsafe place. At the same time, the threat of climate change is also real, urgent, and already hurting the poorest of the world. The irony is, and this is something we must recognize, the irony is that the poor have contributed little to the stock of greenhouse gas emissions, which are responsible for warming and an increasingly risked planet. But weather is becoming more uncertain, more variable, and more extreme. The poor, already vulnerable, are even more at risk. I keep saying, and I will repeat it here, that the Finance Minister of India is not Mr. Jaitley. The only finance minister this country knows and will ever know is the Indian monsoon. And when the monsoon becomes more extreme, more variable, life is at risk. But remember, it is the poor today, it will be all of us tomorrow. The fact is, the world does not know the kind of uncertainty that is in front of it after temperatures cross 2 degrees centigrade. At best, the models tell us the kind of catastrophe that is before us up to 2 degrees. Beyond that, even the models break. And we don't know what to do. All our military might, our technological skills, our arrogance of power is proving inadequate. No country till now, and remember this, no country till now has built a low-carbon economy as yet. The rich, who are most capable of changing lifestyles, or at least their energy basket, are only moving between coal to gas, both fossil fuels. The world, therefore, literally doesn't know what to do. And at this was the first challenge, as I said. The second challenge is ours. The second challenge is more in our face. The environmental challenge as we see it today. The speaker before me spoke about pollution. The fact is, it is in our face. It is in our nose. It is in our lungs. It is harming our bodies, our children today. But the fact is, and this is where all of us need to recognize the nature of the challenge. It's not as simple as telling us we need to get rich and then we will get clean. The fact is, we don't know how to clean up our environment and yet get rich. We have an agenda which is incomplete of making sure that everybody has health, education, water, sanitation. And in all this, we also have to make sure that we can clean up even as we pollute. And we cannot do this. The fact is, we cannot also escape. We cannot believe that we can switch on our air purifiers and be safe. No closed windows will work here. But as I said, the challenge and the crisis is that we don't know how to get rich and then clean up. The technologies and methods of this cleanup have been invented in a world which made a business out of pollution. It was profitable to clean rivers or cities or the air, but this meant that the cost of economic growth increased. It also meant that inequalities in societies increased. We don't have that option. We have the challenge, and this is our challenge, that we can only have sustainable growth if we have affordable growth, if we have inclusive growth. Because the cost of pollution control cannot come after we have created the problem. We have to get rich without pollution. And that is a method, a way of doing things that nobody knows. And so again, the second challenge that requires all of us to rethink, rework everything we know. The third is even more, I believe, in our face. We just don't recognize this. It's about democracy, the nature of democracy. We are today the ultimate gadget generation. We are what Nero was with his fiddle. We are playing with our gadgets, and we believe that these gadgets give us the ability to be able to change the world that is outside. And today, even as there is more information in the world, indeed, all of us would say there's an overload of information, we are even more uninformed. We are more intolerant. We are wrapped up in our own circles because we follow those we agree with, we troll those we don't agree with. There is no dialogue in the world. It is a conversation of the deaf, and now I believe even of the dumb. And this has happened because in the last few decades, we have dismembered the state. We have grown the market, and we have believed that we have empowered societies. But as I said, we have empowered gadget societies. And we forgot to say which and how society should be empowered. And so in this last few decades, the state, market, and the aspiring, consuming society have all become one. Nothing else is counted. In fact, everything else is erased. So this is the world that confronts you as you go out, as you leave this campus. But this is the opportunity that you have. I often really want to be young again, because it would be wonderful to go into a world where everything is turning on its head, where nobody has the arrogance today to tell you that this is the only way that you can get it right. And this, I believe, is what Ashoka has prepared you for. An ability to think differently, an attitude of humility, not, as I said, the arrogance of knowledge, the empathy for the poorest and the most marginalized, so that you think first of affordable, inclusive growth, and then you think about sustainability, and then you get sustainability. And the confidence that you will succeed even if you make your own path. I think those are the virtues that the new world requires. But let me list just 3 of the opportunities that I see are in front, that you could relish, grow, and in fact make so much bigger. The first is, as I talked about, the challenge to globalization. Protectionism is growing across the world. But the opposite to globalization is localization. And the fact is that this provides us an opportunity to first think of the needs of the local. This could be an opportunity to reconsider growth strategies. If growth is not in manufacturing but services, we then need employment and provide services at affordable rates. So localization is not a bad idea. Localization is about building communities upwards. It's about building a new future based on local resources with local communities. So here is an opportunity to rethink completely of what the world has tried but failed in doing. The second is disruption. And with that, dissent. Disruption, why? Think about it. Today, we all recognize Uber, Ola are 2 global companies that do not either own cars or hotels, but provide you rooms and provide you taxi services. And they do this because the brick and mortar world requires huge infrastructure, and this has become unviable. So Uber and Ola are actually undercutting this world by making the best use of individuals' assets. In both cases, they are optimizing on existing resources, the cars and houses that people own, to make money. But most importantly, these businesses are working the informal space. They are doing this to reduce cost and to expand opportunity. But this is where the huge opportunity in India is. The fact is, in countries like India, informal business is the existing order of the day. Who takes away your garbage? It's the rag pickers. The informal system which segregates, sorts, has the most intricate system of being able to recycle and reuse. We don't recognize it. It's illegal. It's hidden. It's not even something that we write about. It's not even something that we study. The same thing is with public transport. Who provides public transport today? Who provides people the ability to move today? It's the huge para-transport networks that operate in our cities, informal systems. Who takes away the sewage of our cities today? It's the septic tank cleaners. These are all businesses that work in the dark. They are neglected. They are abused. They are threatened. And yet, these are the business opportunities that could make for a sustainable India, because it would also be affordable. So instead of neglecting it, making it illegal or despising it, we could make it work. But this has to be combined with what I said, dissent. One of the most important principles in environmentalism is not in my backyard. But not in my backyard means it has to be in somebody else's front yard. All of you who come to this university have to pass what is the biggest shame of my city of Delhi, which is Balswa. The large mountains of waste which exist at the edge of the city. They exist at the edge of the city because this is where the poor of Delhi live. The waste belongs to the rich of Delhi. Not in my backyard means not in the poor's backyard. You give them the ability to dissent. You give them the ability to say, not in my backyard will the next nuclear plant be built. I promise you, it will be built safe, much safer in the front yard of one of us. That's when we'll have environmental sustainability. So not in my backyard has to be the principle. But not in my backyard means giving voice to the voiceless, to the powerless, so that we make sure their backyard is clean. Then all front yards will be clean as well. So at the end, I just want to say, go out. There's a hell of a lot awaiting you. There's a huge crisis out there, but there's a huge opportunity as well. So leave your imprint in the world, be the change, make the change. Thank you very much.